Half double crochet is just a bit taller than single crochet, which makes it great for most projects. To begin, make a slip knot and chain 12. Typically, half double crochet has a 2-stitch turning chain, but you will find some projects that only have a 1-stitch turning chain for half double crochet. Now that I have my 12 chain stitches, I am ready to start my half double crochet. Half double crochet typically has 2 turning chains, so these first 2 I'm going to skip. The other 10 I'm going to make my half double crochet stitches. Since it's the first row, I'm only going to go into the very back part of the chain. Unlike single crochet, half double crochet starts with a yarn over. So before we even dive into our stitch, we're going to make a yarn over. Now skip 2 stitches, and then we're going into this 3rd chain here, but just in the back. So dive right into that 3rd chain, and you should have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through just that first stitch. Again, you should have 3 loops on your hook. To finish half double crochet, yarn over, and you're going to pull through all 3 loops. To help me do that, I'm going to pull down on my chain and pull up on my crochet hook so that I can scoop those all the way through. Now let's make our second half double crochet stitch. I can see that I was already in this stitch here because when I pull up it makes it bigger. So I'm going into this chain next. Again, we have to yarn over first, then dive into that stitch. Yarn over and pull through just that first stitch to pull up a loop. You should have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. All right, one more time. Yarn over, dive into the stitch, yarn over, and pull up a loop. You should have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Continue making half double crochets until you get to the end of the row. I'm at what looks like my very last chain stitch there, but of course, since this is my first time doing half double crochet, I'm going to stop and check. So I'm looking for that first stitch that looks kind of like a V or a chain on the top. That's my half double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that makes this one my 10th one. Yarn over, dive into that last chain stitch, yarn over, and pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. And that completes the first row of half double crochet. Now I'm ready to begin my second row of half double crochet, and all the other rows are worked the same as the second row. So before I can turn around, I need to make my turning chain. I'm going to chain 2, but of course some patterns have you just chain 1 for half double crochet. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and that makes my 2 turning chains. Then I'm going to turn counterclockwise so that I'm ready to go across from left to right again. Just like before, we're going to skip those 2 turning chains, but now they're pretty obvious that these 2 are chains, and the first place I'm going to go is a stitch. If I look at the front, I can see the stitches all the way across. If I look at the top, they look like little V's. On the second row and all of the following rows, I need to go under both strands of those V's. Let's make our half double crochet stitch. Yarn over before you even go into the stitch. Skip those first 2 turning chains. If you made 1 turning chain, you would skip 1 turning chain. Now we're going to dive into that first stitch. Make sure you go under both strands of that stitch. So dive right in. Yarn over and pull through that first stitch to pull up a loop. You should have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over again and pull through all 3 loops. All right, let's do that again. Remember, we're going into the entire stitch into 2 strands. Yarn over, dive right into that stitch, making sure you get both strands. Yarn over and pull through the entire stitch, both strands. You should have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Continue making half double crochets all the way across your second row. It looks like I'm at the end of my second row. If I turn things up, I can see one last V here, but of course I'm going to count and make sure. Here's my first stitch here that looks like a V. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this here is my very last stitch. You just kind of have to flip it up to see it better. Yarn over, dive into that last stitch. It can be a little bit tighter. Yarn over and pull through. 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops to complete your second row. Continue to work all of the following rows just like row 2. So before you turn around, chain 2, or of course if your pattern says you can chain 1. Turn counterclockwise. Make sure to skip those first 2 turning chains or 1 turning chain. Yarn over, dive into the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 stitches. As you get more comfortable with half double crochet and other stitches that start with a yarn over, you can start to combine those first few steps. So once you do your yarn over and dive into the stitch, you can just go right underneath your yarn and you already have your first yarn over. So instead of diving into the stitch and having to do a yarn over, if you have your yarn tensioned out to the side, you can dive into your stitch right under your yarn and you already have your yarn over to pull up a loop. Now I can't say that I'm the best at doing this left-handed, but as you get more comfortable, it does become easier. Then you can complete your stitch. Now you know how to make the half double crochet stitch. When you're ready to try a new stitch, I would recommend moving on to the double crochet stitch next.